This is episode 65, and in today's episode, I'll be sharing with you 4 brief lessons that I believe we can learn from the mixed reactions to the viral paparazzi moment with Ben Affleck and J.Lo. Have you seen it yet? Stay tuned, I'll tell you more about that in a few moments. But I'll be explaining to you what happened and why this video has blown up the way it did. But most importantly, the lessons that you and I can learn from it. That's where the focus of this episode will be today. It's the lessons that you and I can learn from the interaction between Ben and J.Lo. Now, before we dive into this topic, I want to let you know that what you will be hearing is a recording I did for my YouTube channel. So you'll hear me mention the phrase in this video. Now, if you haven't checked out the channel as yet, you might want to do so. And when you do, make sure you subscribe to the channel because you'll be notified the next time a video like that, I post a video like that on my channel. Because I knew that I would be making this recording into a podcast, I did mention that inside the video. So you'll hear me mention the podcast in the video, and you might be thinking, why am I mentioning the podcast when you're listening to it? Well, that's the reason why, and I wanted to let you know that when it happened, why I did. So stay tuned.
Hello and welcome to the Happier Marriage Podcast, a podcast for spouses longing to have a happier marriage so they can feel more connected, desired and supported. Now, to start the show, here is your host and Sherpa, licensed marriage and family therapist and certified relationship coach, Kingsley Grant.
So thanks for joining me today, and I'm very appreciative of the fact that you're here. This means a lot to me that you're listening to this podcast. Like I said, we're going to be talking about the video that's gone bananas. It's gone crazy on my YouTube channel of Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez. Now, I pray that as you listen, and if you find yourself in this situation as Ben and J.Lo did, I want you to be mindful of how you react to a moment when you are upset, as was very visible from this video of Ben and J.Lo. And I'll be sharing 4 lessons from that, what you've seen, when you see it. And don't worry, you don't have to have seen it before you appreciate this podcast, this episode, because I'll do my best, as I did in the video, to kind of walk through step by step what was happening. So you'll be able to watch the video later on if you so choose, but you're going to see why these lessons are so important and how you can and how to avoid behaving like Ben did in the video. I will be doing that right after this.
So, the big question is this. How is it possible that you have a happier marriage when you feel like you've tried everything? Your spouse isn't making an effort. You're exhausted. You feel like giving up. Or there's so much hurt that's taken place between you and your spouse. That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers.
Now, before I step back and let you hear the podcast episode for today, can I ask you to do me a huge favor? Would you please share this episode with 1 or 2 of your married friends? I would greatly appreciate that. So thank you again for doing so. And without further ado, let us now dive into this episode. And remember, it's audio from the video recording. Hello, Sparkans. Kingsley Grant here from Happier Marriage Secrets, where we are on a mission to make marriages happier again. In this video, I'll share with you the mixed reactions to a viral YouTube Shorts video that I posted on August 21st, 2023, about a paparazzi moment with Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez, aka J.Lo, that has over 90,000 views as of this recording. But before you think I'm sharing this because of the views, it's not just that. It's another reason why I'm sharing this with you. And I want you to not just get hung up with the views aspect of what I just said, but it's the lessons that I want you to hear in this video that I believe we can all learn from, both you and I as a married spouse can truly learn some lesson from this. Now, so maybe by the time you watch this video, it will be over 100,000 views. Now, and why do I say it will be there? Because one of the days, and since I posted this, it grew in leaps and bounds, 26,000 views in one day. So I believe that it's a reason why it's resonating. And I wanted to use this video to share with you this episode of my podcast as well, to share with you what it is about the lessons that people are all in on and talking about. And there's buzz in the comments section of the video. It's 15 seconds long. So it's not a long video, 15 seconds, and you can, watch it in no time. But there's something about it that I believe that the more I look at it and I wonder and I sat back and think and just thought to myself, why is this video doing so well? Is it because of the people? Maybe. Yeah, I think it's because of Ben Affleck and J-Lo. Obviously, right? They're celebrities and stars in their own rights. And so many people are fans of theirs, right? So what they saw may have horrified them. And I'll tell you more about that in a few minutes. So it's because of not just the virality of the video, the number of views, but because I believe that there's some very important lessons for you and I, like I mentioned. Now, if you haven't seen it as yet, you need to. And while you go to my channel and to this channel right here, and you are watching it, while you're there, you may want to subscribe to the channel as well so you don't miss out. And also, it gives a chance for more people to see, because YouTube will use the algorithms and the amount of people involved and show it to a lot more people. And you can also read the many comments that people have left on the channel on this one topic. I mean, it's amazing to see how many engagements and how people are thinking through and what they're saying. And some are sad, some are happy, some are, in between and all of that, right? So, and so you want to make sure you read those comments as well. For you, my podcast listeners, you'll need to watch the video to see, watch this video as well as a viral video, but the short is 15 seconds, but you want to watch this video as well. Why? Because you will see, well, as I show there's a part of it here on this video, you'll see what I'm talking about, and you'll hear, and as I make comments about it, why the lessons that I'm sharing with you, why they're so important as you watch it right here yourself, right? Now, you might also be wondering, why did I greet you as a Sparkian, right? As a hello Sparkians, right? You say, well, where's that coming from? Well, I came up with that name for spouses who are focused or committed on putting the spark back into their marriage. And so if you're committed and focused on putting the spark back into your marriage, you are a Sparkian. And I've come up with a manifesto about who Sparkians are, and I'll tell you more about that later, because there's other virtues as well, not just putting the spark back. There are other things I have also come up with as a manifesto for Sparkians. And so I'll tell you more about that in the future. So hang around and you'll hear why I said, I call you, if you're putting the spark back in your marriage and working on that to have a happier marriage, you are a Sparkian. Okay. Now, so let's get into today's topic on the mixed reactions to the viral paparazzi moment with Ben Affleck and J-Lo. I'll be sharing with you four brief lessons that I believe we can take away from this video. And before I do, let me set the stage for what happened. Now, so what happened was, in this clip, 15 seconds clip, you can see J-Lo and Ben Affleck walking to their car. They're on the same side, but Ben Affleck was ahead of J-Lo. And she, behind him, had a coffee in her hand, or a coffee cup in her hand. And she also had her pocketbook or handbag over her shoulder. So he was walking free-handed, and she had a coffee. No big deal, right? It's fine. But he was ahead of her, a few steps ahead of her. He got to the car door, the passenger door, and he opened the door for her. Now, if I was to freeze that frame, I would say that's a good thing. Wouldn't you say? I mean, the days are long gone nowadays where men are being gentlemen, right? We are, I have a co-host and myself do a live Monday, like in Instagram live, where we talk about different topics. And as of this recording, we're talking about chivalry. Is chivalry still around? Is it dead? And we're talking about the idea of men opening doors for their wives and, pulling the chairs out and so on. And what we discuss in depth, why is it kind of, some men are reluctant to do that today? Why is it that some wives don't want their husbands or their men to do that for them? And, we get into that because what he did was I grew up on this idea that men should open the door for his girlfriend, his wife. And so, I can just, I must put my hand up and just say, I don't do it as often as I should for my wife, right? We have these days of electronic doors and all of that thing, but I still do from time to time. I'll open the door for her. And she doesn't, thank God, doesn't make a big stink of it. But, I know I need to do it more often. And it's just a gentleman thing to do. And I believe it's the right thing. It's just really showing your protection for your spouse. You were saying that you love her and want her to be protected. So you want her to be seated before anything. She doesn't fall, whatever happens. So mishaps can take place, right? So he opened the door for her. So if I freeze that frame, you can see that was a good thing, right? Would you say that as well? Okay. It's what happened after that truly became the buzz and the talk and what became the viral moment that the paparazzi all captured. Now, of course, they're going to show the side that they want you to see. I was speaking to someone recently who said they saw more of the video, not just what was shown that's gone viral, but they saw where the paparazzi was really, annoying them. And so hence the reason why Ben did what he did, which I'll talk about in a few moments. So the stage has been set. So he went to the car door, he opened the door, she went up, and then she got in and sat down. That's where it all happened. That's where that few seconds, maybe 2 or 3 seconds, is what captured the attention of thousands and thousands of people. Actually, some other people have shown it on their channels as well. So we say millions of people have seen that moment. And that's the impression now they have of Ben Affleck. And different comments have reflected what people think about him. So what happened was when she sat down in the car, he then slammed the door, slammed it. You could, it's of course the sound is there as well. And then he looked up around with a scowl on his face, right? He thought he was very mad. He's angry. He's upset at something. So what people have said is that he was upset at J-Lo, and there's something happening in the camp, right? There's, something is going on in the camp where things are not happy. And that's why some comments are reflected that maybe he's not happy with her and vice versa. There's something stirring in the camp that's the impression people got. So he slammed the door and then he walked to his side and got in the car. Before he got in his side, he got to the driver's side and he stood and looked around for a few seconds and then got in. It's almost like saying, "Are you happy now?" Kind of to the paparazzi. "Are you happy now?" I don't know. There were no words. It's all nonverbal. No words that we could hear. No words were exchanged between him and J-Lo. All that happened was nonverbals, and you could tell. As you may have heard this, that majority of your communication, right, over 75% of communication, and maybe more, is the nonverbal. The nonverbal speaks so loudly, people have a hard time hearing what you're saying because the nonverbals, it overshadows that. So the nonverbals is all we had. There's no words we heard exchange. And so at that moment, some people thought, some of their reaction was that Ben Affleck was being rude when he slammed the door. Some people thought he's mad at her. They had an argument maybe that morning. But I'm not sure they would have gone for coffee. If they had an argument at home, they probably would have stayed home. But who knows, right? They're actors. So he's an actor. She is as well too, right? So some people thought he was just trying to get the paparazzi away from them and maybe from her. So he was doing a protective act. But he's slamming the door is to say to them, "Are you happy now? get away from us kind of thing. So they had these ideas that maybe that's what, and maybe it was. I don't know. And you go and watch the video for yourself, and you can make up your own mind as to what you think was happening. So I suggest you watch the video and then have a better understanding of what I'm trying to explain as best as I can with you right here. Still, others thought that there's something going on in the camp, as I mentioned earlier, that we don't know about. And maybe he's unhappy. Maybe she's unhappy, because they both have a history of different marriages. They've been married before, they got divorced, and he got married someone else. And then, it's really a messy kind of, situation for him and his ex-wife and the kids and her and the kids. It's messy. I mean, so really, it's not like this is the most pleasant situation. It's not like their marriage, doesn't have its own issues. But every marriage have issues, right? Every marriages have issues. So what are the 4 lessons that we can take away from this? What are the 4 lessons that I believe is so important, which you're here for? Number 1, the first lesson is about nonverbal communication, which I alluded to in a few moments ago. And of course, it's any communication that's being done without using words, right? Now, so in none of my writing is that words are still being used. So any communication that doesn't have words is referred to as nonverbal. So it can be things like your body language, right? Right now, you can see my hands moving, you can see my body, my head going different ways. That's body language. I'm communicating possibly enthusiasm or passion. Just want you to know and hear, right? So you're seeing and hearing from me about body language expression that can tell you more than just the words you're listening to, right? Also, too, this is the tone of my voice can come under a nonverbal because you're hearing the words, but the tone can tell you whether I'm excited or I'm sad or I'm upset or I'm just like boring and just kind of flat tone, and that's right. That's a form of communication as well. And you would not like that anyway, right? You wouldn't like that. I'm sure you would not. Facial expressions. You're seeing right now my facial expression. You're seeing how sometimes I may be, blinking a bit too often because there's a fan blowing into my eyes right now, and I have contacts in, so it might be, so I would do that more often. You may see my smile, right? You may see my eyebrow kind of knitted for a few moments. So you can see all that facial expression. All of this are nonverbal. And you and your spouse do this a lot. And many times, this is what your spouse and maybe you get hung up on because you're reading into what's being said and you're saying, why do you have to be looking so mad? Why are you looking so upset? Because it's not what you heard, it's what you saw. So many times, that's what creates conflict in our relationships. Because when I look at Ben Affleck's face, when he slammed the door, it told us, volumes were spoken. He's upset about something, whether it's J-Lo, himself, the paparazzi, you knew he was upset, and you'll see for yourself when you watch that. So the first lesson is be careful of your nonverbals. Watch the nonverbals. And at the same time, if you see a nonverbal that you somehow have an issue with, be curious and ask a question. Don't judge and just say, hey, why are you so mad? Or why are you so upset? Well, the person may not be upset. It could be something else going on, and you saying that not cause them to be upset. So be careful of how you judge a nonverbal. Lesson number 2, nonverbal communication can affect your marriage if you didn't get that as much. You already got that in what I just said. So the way you communicate nonverbally can send a lot of messages to your spouse. Imagine me talking to my spouse this way, to my wife, and you, with this excitement, she would say, Kingsley, what are you on? What are you on? What did you smoke this morning? I mean, by the way, I don't smoke, right? What drug did you use? I don't use drugs either. But because of that, she may say, you're so hyper, or, is it your ADHD kind of thing kicking in? But what happened is that I'm communicating something. If I'm, she always says sometimes, it said to me many times, Kingsley, she'll, I'm talking to her and I'm using my hands. I use my hand a lot if you can't tell. She'll kind of mimic me after I finish speaking. She does, without any saying anything, she'll go. And if you're watching right now, you see what I'm talking, you see the actions I'm making. She'll do those things, right? And she'll mimic me and she says simply saying, And sometimes she'll also hold my hands down and send it, just talk, honey, just talk. It's hard for me. I'm very, I use my hands a lot, if you can't, as you can tell. So my whole point is a message that's been communicated to your spouse, and it can show them how you're feeling about something. It can show them what you're thinking and also what you want. Because sometimes my wife will see me in a silent mode and I'm like just so 100 miles away. And she'll say, honey, are you okay? Now, I have a whole thing about that may not be the right question to ask. Are you okay? Because that can be annoying as well. So she could just simply say, I see like you're a mile away. Your mind is on something. What is there something that is capturing your mind right now? Because that's an actual factual thing she's seeing. So anyway, you are communicating what you're thinking or feeling. If you're sad, you're very happy. If you're excited, if you're just, melancholy, whatever it is, you're communicating that creates curiosity for your spouse who wants to know. Because if after he slammed that door, bended, and he went around the other side and got in, J-Lo may look at him like, even though we didn't see that part in the clip, she could look at him like, was that necessary? She may not even know what happened, but all she saw was the door slammed, and she could have felt like intimidated. So for example, he was abusive, physically abusive. That could be like, oh no, what did I do wrong? And baby, and now she's in the car, locked in with him, and if he's a physically abusive, she could get abused in the car, or taken home and physically abused if he's upset with her, because she heard the door being slammed so hard, saw the look on his face, she could immediately think it's something about what she did, right? So be careful. Nonverbal communication can affect your marriage, affect your relationship very, very easily. And you may already have experienced some of what I'm talking about already. So the third lesson that I want to share with you, the third lesson is how to use nonverbal communication to improve your marriage, your relationship. How do you use that to improve your relationship, your marriage? Now, there are a few things you can do to use nonverbal communication to improve your marriage. First, be aware of your own body language and facial expressions. Be self-aware. Be mindful. Sometimes talk to yourself in the mirror and see the kind of facial expression you're making, because you don't know, you don't see it. Your spouse sees it, and they're wondering. So you really don't even know what you're communicating unless you've taken the time to associate when you're passionate or excited or sad, and you've seen that face. So get to know your own self. What kind of body language are you communicating? What about your facial expressions? So how do you use that? Use it in a way that is congruent with what you're thinking or feeling. So for example, if I'm not really happy about something that day and I'm kind of, just dragging and feeling a bit blah and just having, a sad day, whatever it is, or just feeling stressed or whatever, I'm going to communicate that to my wife through my eyes, or just, I'm not smiling. I'm just speaking very flat. I'm not speaking a lot of words. I'm pausing like this, waiting. That's nonverbal. And she's now going to be curious. So if I want her to hear the message correctly, I need to choose the right body language and facial expression to communicate that. And that's what you want to think about doing. Make sure you're sending the message you want to send, not the message that's been hijacked, because your words are one thing and your body language says something else. Second, be mindful of your spouse's body language and facial expressions. Pay attention to how they're reacting to you. Get to learn. Be the best student of your spouse. Get to know how they communicate certain things when they're excited or sad, like I mentioned before. Get to know that, so you can associate what's being said to possibly what's going on. And finally, be intentional about using nonverbal communication to express your love and appreciation to your spouse, right? Give them hugs, hold their hands, make eye contact, just sit with them, put your arms around their shoulders, whatever it is. My wife's love language is physical touch. So when I personally initiate and will hug her or kiss her or just, come by her and just give her, put my hand on her somewhere and hug her, so to speak. She appreciates that because she says, I'm thinking about her, I love her, and I'm communicating through her love language. Now, the fourth lesson, before I share with you the fourth and final lesson, give me about a few minutes, maybe about 90 seconds or so to share with you what I believe is so important. So before I share with you the last lesson, and if you want to get a more practical picture of what this looks like, you want to watch a video like I mentioned before, and when you do go to watch the video, can I ask you to do me three things really quickly? I want you to hit the subscribe button. And if you're watching this right now and have not yet hit the subscribe button, would you do that right now? I would really appreciate that. Secondly, if you like what you're hearing so far, hit that like button. And if you want to be notified of future videos that I do, hit that notification bell. I would really, really appreciate that from you. So that's number one. Number two, I do have a podcast, and you may have heard me mention that. And of course, if you're listening to my podcast, I'm saying this part here, so you say, well, I know that I'm listening to it right now. And so I have a podcast. It's called the Happier Marriage Secrets Podcast. And you can access that and all the topics I've covered there at the happiermarriagesecrets.com, happiermarriagesecrets.com, and see all the topics that I've covered there and have access to that as well. And thirdly, if you would like to get a quick way to assess the state of your marriage, and you want to say, hey, I'm not sure about where we are right now, you want to take the Happier Marriage Assessment Quiz that can be found at happiermarriagesecrets.com/quiz, happiermarriagesecrets.com/quiz. It's 11 questions in 90 seconds or less. You can get it completed, get a score, and also you get a one-page PDF that explains to you what the score is, what it means, and then also some follow-up emails that kind of tell you what you might need to do as next step. Now, if you're new to this channel and you're wondering who am I, my name is Kingsley Grant. I mentioned earlier, I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist and a certified relationship coach. I've been married for 38 years and counting, and have two adult children. So some of what I'm talking about is from my own personal experience. Have you heard me reference that? And also my professional experience of almost 2 decades of working with couples from all manner of situations. I've heard almost everything that can be heard. Of course, there's always an exception, but I believe I've heard, you name it, after working with hundreds of couples over the last several years. So many of these are coming from my own personal experience and my professional experience. So I don't want it to, if you're new to this channel, to kind of give you an update of who I am. The last lesson, lesson number 4, we can take from this video of Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck, that the importance of empathy, Now, empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person, right? The ability to understand and share, not just understand and share the feelings of another person. It's different from sympathy, because sympathy is to see and I'm feel sorry for, but I don't share that. I don't step into that person's shoes as best as I can. That's sympathy. Empathy is going the next step and stepping into that person's shoes. And because you felt something like that, empathize with where they're at, right? And this is very important in your relationship because it allows you to connect with your spouse at a deeper level. He or she will feel as if you get them, right? You understand them. I cannot tell you how many couples will say, I don't feel understood. I don't feel like he understands me. I don't feel like she understands me. I don't feel like he gets me. I don't feel like she gets me. That kind of stuff. What you're simply saying is, I don't feel they even know me. Right? They haven't stepped into my shoes. When I bring something up, I'm dismissed. I'm ignored. I am, it's as if my situation is not important. So it's important for you to learn how to be more empathetic. I told a person recently in a counseling session, I said, as I listen to you, I think what I'm hearing that's missing is you're very analytical. You are able to assess things very quickly. Now, a lot of people are this way. I mean, especially men. I've counseled so many men and coached so many men over the years who have this similar thing I'm talking about here. They're very analytical, very black and white, very to the point, very direct, right? Now, some are, of course, there's not all, but a lot of them have this personality. So I said to this one person, I said, hey, what I think you're missing is you're missing this piece of empathy. You've got to learn how to be more empathetic. And I said to this person that it's a skill that you learn. You can learn to be empathetic. It's not something that you're born with necessarily. Some people have more proclivity towards that, right? Their more propensity is towards being empathetic than some other people. But it's something you can learn. It's a skill that can be developed like any other skill. So learn how to be empathetic, right? So the importance of that in your relationship, I cannot stress that enough. So this is the fourth lesson. So let me quickly just mention again that 4 lessons here is, first lesson is about nonverbal communication. Lesson number 2, how nonverbal communication affects your marriage, your relationship. And lesson number 3 is how to use nonverbal communication to improve your marriage. And lesson number 4, the importance of empathy in your marriage. These 4 lessons are so vitally important. And as you watch this video of Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez, you can see all of these lessons that I extracted from this short 15 seconds video. All of these lessons came from that. And I hope some of what I've just shared resonated with you. It makes sense to you. And if they do, I would love for you to make a comment. Comment below which of these lessons resonated the most with you. Which of these lessons you think are, you need to work on. And if you're watching the podcast, listen to the podcast, you can come over here and also comment and just get involved in the conversation, as so many have already done that. It would take you a few seconds. Now you have an idea of what it's about. Come and watch this 15 seconds video and make a comment there as well. You can always reach out to me. A direct message on Instagram is a great place, or through my Facebook there as well, or even here on this channel. You can, on this YouTube channel, just ask me a question. I would love to hear any question you have and see if I can answer them in a future video. Now, remember, nonverbal communication is important in relationships, and be aware of your own body language and facial expressions, and be mindful of your spouses as well. And most importantly, be intentional about using nonverbal communication to express your love and appreciation for your spouse. Again, if you want to learn more about how to do this, I have created a video that will be linked on how to build a stronger marriage, where I share with you the Happier Marriage Renewal Roadmap. It's a roadmap how to get from an unhappy and dissatisfied marriage to a happier and more satisfied marriage. So you can always listen to that. You'll see the link. You can always click on that and watch that as well. You can also find other helpful resources at kingsleygrant.com. And I want you to check out my deck of cards for couples, for married couples, and it's called Connect Strong. Connect Strong. The deck of cards, you can get that, so you can also check that out on my at kingsleygrant.com. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, subscribe, and share with at least one other married person. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below watching this video, or you can also do that on social media, as I mentioned before, and I look forward to that. With that said, my friend, thank you so very much for watching. God bless. And I'll see you on the next video, and make sure you share this with at least one other spouse. God bless. I'll see you then.
We've come to the end of another exciting show, and if you enjoyed this podcast, 1, make sure you give this show a rating and review. 2, subscribe to the show to get all new releases. And 3, get your complimentary copy of the 5 Secrets to a Happier Marriage ebook at kingsleygrant.com/HMS ebook. Again, it's kingsleygrant.com/HMS ebook. See the link in the show notes. Do it today. Don't delay. Thanks so much for listening, and make sure you tell one other spouse about this show, or better yet, share it with them. Until next time, may the Lord bless you and keep you, and make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. May he turn his face toward you and give you his peace, both now and forever.